Economic, social and cultural rights. Economic, social and cultural rights are the most important rights of humanity. It is these rights that substance the civil and political rights. Mere processing democracy, freedom to live life and liberty have no meaning without these rights. Realizing the significance of these rights, which are popularly referred as second generation rights, the United Nations, while adopting the Covenant of Economic, Social and Cultural Rights 1966 has been adopted as the primary over the civil and political rights covenant. This is because the UN, considering the independence that many developing nations got in the 60s and the affliction of disease, hunger, poverty, illiteracy and social insecurity etc., led it to adopt the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights as the basic covenant in 1966. These few articles have been expanded in the covenant and later in a number of agreements and treaties, including the Agreement on Trade-related Intellectual Property Rights. Now, in the Universal Declaration, these rights are discussed from Article 22 to 27, whereas these are expanded to 30 articles and adopted as the covenant. Let us briefly examine the significance of these rights. These rights aim to provide the basis for the enjoyment of the basic freedoms of humanity. These rights are the basic ones for the full development of mankind and realization of human rights. According to these rights, it is the basic duty of states to provide the minimum life necessities such as right to food, health, education and social security at all times. To achieve these rights, the resources of the world need to be shared by everybody equally without any vested interest to be captured by any one single or a group of few states. According to this right, in the later years, the outer space, the high seas and the Antarctic and other zones have been declared as no man's land. In other areas, other state gets a license to explore the resources, such as states need to share a percentage of resources with the UN, which in turn will distribute to the poor nations to update themselves. In fact, the extension of reservations or concessions have evolved at the international level long back by the developed states or to the developing states to make themselves sufficient to participate in an equal manner. The same has been extended to national sphere to certain groups of people. These rights are part of several constitutions, including India, wherein they are called as directive principles of state policy. Now, it is the duty of the developed states to share the scientific and technological knowledge with the developing states for the augmentation of the rights of the poor and other destitute population of the world. Among other important rights, right to work is another important right. According to this right, everyone has to work for the substance of life and such work should be legally acceptable. This right indirectly imposes an obligation on everyone to take care of children and older people through their earning capacity. Further, in order to claim human dignity, it prohibits such works which are inhuman in nature like manual, scavenging, etc. In the positive side, it advocates that work is a basic human right. This implies that everyone has to participate in the production and other activities of income generation of the society and state. By such participation, it imposes an obligation on everyone to respect whatever the work that they engage in. It is the duty of such employer to pay the remuneration which is equivalent for their daily living. In order to promote this right, the International Labour Organization monitors various aspects relating to the rights and obligations of the employers and employees. The ILO has a unique structure among all the organs of the UN. It has tripartite structure wherein the states, employers and the workers together participate in the decision making processes. In order to improve the economic and social equality of work and social security apart from all other organs, the Economic and Social Council regularly monitors the work and frames the policy formulations to be adopted by the states. It also guarantees the rights of migrant workers from one place to another, either within the same country or in another country. Their right to work cannot be challenged on the ground of non-locals of community or state. This right further couples with it the right to form trade unions, right to social security, right to good conditions of work, limited number of work hours, minimum and maximum number of work hours per day, special privileges to women and children, etc. Basing on the right, every country adopted a number of welfare laws of labor oriented. Now, let us see right to health. This right highlights the significance of basic minimum needs that every individual requires to lead a life to satisfy the basic necessities such as food, clothing, household requirements and common minimum standards of water, light, sanitation, pollution-free environment, health and education. This article has a link with many other provisions of the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights and International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. It reiterates that it is the duty of the society and the state to provide the necessary means of livelihood. The state has onerous responsibility to encourage the development of science and technology, which are highly essential tools for the progressive development. In this regard, to help the states to achieve the minimum standard of living to be provided to the people, it adopted a number of international instruments guaranteeing the right to free exploitation of resources and right to self-determination. In fact, this right has further augmented the right to development as another important right. This article imposes an obligation on the states to achieve adequate levels of nutrition and to eliminate hunger and malnutrition. The various organs of UN and other bodies like International Monetary Fund and World Bank too have obligation to extend sufficient loans to developing states at marginal interest rates. Among all the organs of UN, United Nations Development Programme and the Economic and Social Council regularly engage a number of researchers to evolve strategies to develop the required basic needs. The UNDP has launched a program called Habitat and reviews the programs of work of the nation states and evolves the strategies to achieve the 8 important goals of the millennium. It partners with various states, individuals and non-government organizations. These programs are monitored by the nation states through the annual sessions of the General Assembly and guides the agenda every year to achieve the targets. It further highlights the significance of right to health, including the prevention of communicable diseases like HIV, AIDS, that is AIDS, and other common diseases. The clarion call of this right imposes a duty on everyone to use the resources carefully without any wastage and protect them for the future generations. It also reminds everyone to ban illegal trafficking of human beings and the cruelest profession of prostitution in whatever form or method that is in existence. This right guarantees the rights of sexual minorities such as lesbians, gays, homosexuals and people of third sex and not practice any derogatory practices. It also imposes a responsibility to protect the rights of mentally infirm people, old people, and all others who have no source of income generating capacity to be taken care of by the society. If a state is unable to provide employment of any kind, it is the duty of the state to pay a minimum honorarium to lead a life. A country like India, which has more than 1 billion population, in which almost half of them are below poverty line, need to be nurtured and to wipe the tears from every human eye. This brings to the fore that the vast expenditure of the state to be reduced to a maximum extent and help the poor people. Now, along with the state, we the people of United Nations, especially the rich and other economically sound people, including the private corporations, have also onerous duty to share our resources to the extent possible to assist the people and contribute our might to the society as members. Now, let us see right to education. This is another important right for the development of men. According to this, education should serve the purpose for which it is pursued. This conjoins the saying and importance extended by Swami Vivekananda, who propagated his philosophy through the central point of educating ourselves with values, morals, and with a particular purpose to serve the needs of the society and as well oneself. Knowledge is the inherent in everybody. It can be exposed only when it is tapped in a proper manner. This right articulates the same goal. Through education, it aims the following goal which can be achieved. They are: A. Education to everyone alone promotes the strengthening of respect and helps for the promotion of human rights and fundamental freedoms. B. The full development of the human personality and the sense of its dignity could be achieved only when the significance of human person is realized. It helps to understand tolerance. It promotes gender equality and friendship with all other human beings across the world. D. It promotes compassionate behavior towards other vulnerable groups such as refugees, mentally and physically infirm people, old aged persons, children and third sex, and socially, economically, culturally disadvantaged sections, and promote to end racist, linguist, religious and minorities, etc. E. It enables all people to freely and effectively to take part in the development of society and states, economically, politically, socially, legally, as well as culturally. F. Education alone provides a goal to achieve the objectives of human rights by inculcating values, morals, and ethical perspectives of mankind. G. It enables to achieve the United Nations and the objectives of international law to establish peace and security on the globe. In order to achieve these main goals, which contribute for the furtherance of the common brotherhood and one world concepts, the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is UNESCO, formulates a number of policies and programs to help the states to achieve 100% literacy, full literacy. The UN Millennium Summit and World Conference also highlighted the significance in no uncertain terms. Accordingly, the UN declared 2005 to 2014 as the decade of education for sustainable development. It hopes to achieve literacy to a maximum extent. In tune with the policy perspectives of the UN and other international organizations, the Government of India has adopted the Right to Education Act 2010, making education as a compulsory aspect for every citizen of India. Now let us see right to culture. The UNESCO has a specific mandate to achieve the objects of this right. It has adopted number of conventions dealing with various avocations of the promotion of cultural and scientific activities. According to this right, no one has a right to degrade the culture or any aspect of cultural perspective, including language, is degraded under any circumstances. Any culture of a society needs to be respected and promoted. The knowledge acquired through scientific and technological inputs need to be used for the advancement of the rights and fundamental freedoms of mankind. It imposes an obligation on the states and the individuals to share their scientific and technological skills for the development of mankind in whatever way it is possible. In this regard, to promote the scientific and technological advancement and to encourage individuals across the world to actively involve in the promotion and dissemination of knowledge, the intellectual property rights have been recognized by international law and as well as by human rights. The limited protection given by the individuals is only in the recognition of their hard work for the promotion and advancement of scientific and technological knowledge. It is not as commonly viewed by many scholars that the stringent protection given to these inventors is monopoly rights. The recognition and such strict regime alone motivate individuals to undertake research for the furtherance of the development of the mankind and resources of the world.